Hey folks, today I'd like to talk about a cool little piece of software that's available for free on Saptarishis Astrology.com. So a brief bit of backstory. Once upon a time, there was a program called astrodatabank.com created by Lois Rodden with a very extensive database of, nativities and events. And this database program was mounted on Microsoft Access, and you could use it to do all kinds of search features for any kind of research you might have been involved in. Well, maybe 10 or 15 years ago now, Rodden sold her database to Astrodienst.com, which is now also called astrodatabank.com. And it's, the go-to place on the web for, valid birth data with, accuracy ratings, AA, A, B, and so on, based on the source of the birth data. And of course, that database of information remains there, but you cannot search on it. And the program itself, I think the last time I used it was Windows 97 or something like that, to give you an idea. Subsequent updates to Windows have, rendered the original software, effectively null and void. So for years, we have been without this kind of feature. But a few years ago, the astrologer and Jyotishi Ehsan Kazemi, who is Iranian, and a programmer as well as an astrologer, he developed this software to provide many of the search features that we astrologers value, both for Western astrologers and for Vedic astrologers as well. Initially, that was just, available kind of word of mouth for those who heard about it and to whom he distributed it freely. A couple of years ago, Sunil John put it on his website, saptarishisastrology.com, and made it available for free. There were a few glitches in between about, the ability for people to access it. But now that that's been straightened out and easy to do, I want to direct people to this and start to take advantage of it. So without further ado, let me move on to the portion of the presentation involving screen sharing, and you'll see how to access this, and then I'll give you a couple of tutorials on how to use it. So first thing you're going to want to do is find your way to this website, saptarishisastrology.com. You can see it written out here quite clearly. I've already entered it into the web browser, and we are on the front page. Now, the fastest way to get at the software is simply to scroll right to the very bottom of the page, of the home page, and there is a field right there, SA, Saptarishis Astrology Research Software. You click on that, and that will take you then to this page that shows the software. I'm waiting for the image to show up, and it's not doing it, but it'll turn up here. Let's see, why is it not showing? Goodness knows why. But anyway, it doesn't matter. This is the page. And basically, all you have to do is click Buy Now. Don't worry, it's free. You click on Buy Now, and it then just takes you to another page where you enter your email address, and that's it. That's all. Within about 24 hours, the software will come to you in a zip file, and then you will download it and install on your PC or laptop. I think it only runs on a Windows environment. Sorry, Apple users, but that's the way it goes. So that was the front page of Saptarishis Astrology, and you just go to the bottom of the page, home page. There's that button. Another way to get at it is by going through the Astrology Bookshop link. Now, I'm not sure whether you have to sign in order to do this. I don't think so. I mean, you can see my name there already, but you would click on this Astrological Bookshop link. Hopefully this moves along briskly. And then, yes, it brings us to a new page within the bookshop. Go to this button here in the menu, look at software, pull down Saptarishis research software again. And is it going? Okay, and there it brings us, there, now we see the image for the Saptarishis astrology research software version 2.0. This is what should have appeared in the previous screen. Anyway, never mind. That's the page, and then the same deal. Click buy now. I mean, if you're there to buy other stuff, other books, I mean, you can just add this to your cart. But the point is, its price is free. So that's the key thing, free. You can't argue with that. Okay, so then once you install this software, download the zip file, install it on your computer, and then you run it. Let's see if I can bring this up. Okay, so there, that came up. Every time I run this, for whatever reason, this is the main page that comes up after you start it. I keep getting this error message, but it means nothing. It doesn't, it says an unexpected error has occurred. I just click OK, it clears it, and for the rest of the session that I'm using this, I never see that error message again. So, don't fret about that. It's, you just pass right on through. Okay, first things you want to do on this Launchpad page is go to settings and do this much. If you're a Vedic astrologer, and I assume that's the audience I'm talking to, you want to set this for sidereal. If you have a particular Ayanamsha, this is where you're going to select that. I mean, everything is in here, but obviously for most of us, Lahiri is the way to go. So sidereal zodiac, Lahiri, Ayanamsha. And then I know a lot of people use true nodes, but you shouldn't. Mean nodes is what you should be using, because for millennia, that's what was used. And don't get me going on that whole thing. But anyway, it's your choice. Mean node. And then if you want to see your charts presented in North or South Indian format when you get the charts displayed, you need to have this done as well too. So that's my setup. Sidereal. Whoops, see, I mistakenly toggled that. Lahiri, mean node, and North India format. Okay, save that, and that's what I'm going to get. Now, here's your main page, the launch page, for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. So you can actually you can't do everything you want to do. It's like life. You can do many things, but you can't do everything. So this program is pretty robust and very useful. But it can't do everything. And you'll learn by doing. So the thing is, you can search on planets, include among this listing planets, they include the ascendant, and they also include, for the benefit of Western astrologers, the trans-Saturnian planets as well too. So Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are in here as well. Heads up, when you get a chart display, it's going to show Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto as well too. I ignore them, but some of you might value their presence. So you can search on planets, you can search on lords, lords of any of the 12 houses. And you can do other things. You can selectively request, let's say I want to see any charts with the ascendant, Sun and Mars, all in fire signs, let's say. You can do that. And then you can choose other things. I want 3 or more planets in the moksha houses or something like that. This is where you might choose something like that. Mostly you're going to work within this first 2 pull downs, choosing planets and lords. And over here you have options to have a planet within certain houses, to have a planet in certain signs, or the lord in certain houses, or the lord in certain signs. And I'm going to demonstrate how this works. Or a planet or a lord in a certain nakshatra, or a planet or a lord conjunct. He uses the word conjunct, by which he means in association. So if I say I want to see Lagnesh, the ascendant lord, associated with Jupiter, I'm going to use this button here, conjunct meaning associated. This doesn't work for whatever reason, so you're not going to be able to ask to see all horoscopes with the moon in the sub. That means not the sign, not the constellation or star, but the sub of of the constellation. It's a Krishnamurti concept. You can't do that. You can ask for degree positions. You can ask for a planet to be direct, retrograde, or stationary. Okay, I'm going to show you the simple stuff. So let's say that you want to find a Chandra-Mangala yoga in horoscopes. So you're doing research and you want to look at Chandra-Mangala horoscopes. What is a Chandra-Mangala chart? It's when Moon and Mars are either associated or in mutual aspect, meaning directly opposite from each other. Okay, so you could set that up, and you could, and you have to think through this sometimes, what you want to get. I'm going to help you a little bit here. I want to see only Chandra-Mangala horoscopes that are strong. So you ask yourself, what makes strength in a yoga? Well, a planet that is in its own or exalted sign. Okay, and I want both of them strong at the same time. Okay, so Moon and Saturn, what sign combinations would I choose in order to have both of them exhibiting strength? Well, let's start with, well, off the top of my head, I can think, well, if I had Moon in Cancer and Mars in Capricorn, they would each be in their own and exalted sign respectively, but key to forming the yoga, they would be directly opposed, mutually aspecting. That would fulfill the yoga. Okay, so let's look for that one. So I pull this down and I select Moon. Okay, Moon, yeah, and now I want to put it in a sign. And so I say I'm going to put it in Cancer. Click. I'll put it in Cancer. But later on too, I'm going to look for more combinations. Where else can Moon, Mars be strong? And I've thought this through, so I already know the answer. They're also strong when the Moon is in Taurus and Mars is in Scorpio. So here I'm going to say, I'll be happy to see any horoscope that has the Moon in Taurus or Cancer. And that's the way these are always set up. When you tick off multiple boxes, we're saying the Moon could be in either one of those, and that will satisfy that condition. So once you've filled out this, saying I'd like to see the Moon in Taurus or Cancer, you click this button, Generate. And it writes a little statement. It says, vis-a-vis the one planet we're talking about, the Moon, I would like to see it either in Taurus or Cancer. Okay, so far so good. What's the other component of a Chandra-Mangala yoga? It's Mars. So I go back to this pull down and I say, okay, I want Mars. Here's Mars, click. Now, where do I want to find Mars? Well, by sign, I want to have it either in Scorpio, where it's strong, or Capricorn, where it's exalted. Now, you can go ahead and think this through on your own, but I've already done that for you. These are the only two places where Moon and Mars can form a Chandra-Mangala yoga, and they will both be strong at the same time. Yes, we could put the Moon and Mars together in Cancer, but only the Moon will be strong, Mars will be debilitated. I could put them both in Aries, and then Mars will be strong, but the Moon will be ordinary. Anyway, trust me, I've thought this through, and this is what I want. Planets in strength and forming the yoga. So I've got this selected, Mars in either Scorpio or Capricorn. I click this button, Generate. Always read the line that you've created and see, what does it say? Does it say what I wanted it to say? Because sometimes you make a mistake in pulling down the wrong planet here and launching off from wrong criteria, or you click the wrong sign. But this looks good now. Moon in Taurus or Cancer, where it's strong. Mars in Scorpio or Capricorn, where it's strong. And you see Taurus and Scorpio are opposite each other. They're a mutual aspect. Cancer and Capricorn are opposite each other, also a mutual aspect. So I'm good to go. This is my equation for Find This Yoga. Now what I do is I go over here and I look at the data source. Now I don't want murky data, something X means that you have a birth date but no time. DD, dirty data. C, word of mouth. B, something written in a bio but nothing like a birth certificate. What we want is we untoggle this all and we click A or double A. This is what you should be working with all the time. This is important because it'll restrict the size of the database and you won't have to search all 23,000 of them. All 35,000 of the data points that are in the database. You just search those that have A or double A data. So this is your setup. Now we're ready to go. We hit the button. Oh, and SRS database. This is a database that is, if I understand it correctly, the same as the Astrodienst or Astro Databank.com base. Okay, we're good to go. Start search. And right away, you'll see it start cranking. See, there's 23,000 data bits we're looking for. Keep your eye around the 2,000 mark. We hit something like 80. We're going to get a lot here. And, you know, maybe that's going to be too much. Yeah, certainly it will be. So I'm going to stop this. And I'm going to say, hold on, I don't want that much data. Here's what I want. I'm going to add some criteria to it. Let's say that we want Moon and Mars also angular. So I'm going to go back to the Moon, and I'm going to say Moon. I want the Moon in house. See, check the house. What's angularity? Houses 1, 4, 7, or 10. Click Generate. And does that look right? The planet Moon will be in the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, or the 10th. Remember, these are all or symbols. Then I do the same with Mars. I'll go back here and I say Mars. Let me have it in the 10th, the 7th, the 4th, or the 1st. And that looks right here. And then I'll click Generate and read this to make sure. One planet, Mars, 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th. If I should have made a mistake, I can click on this and I can say delete. That line will disappear, and then I'll rewrite it by using my pointer and my pull down in order to do that. But this is okay in this instance. So now I can say, okay, let's have another crack at this search. So I'm going to hit the button, search, and away we go. See the 23,000? I'm going to watch for when around 2,300 comes up. And right about there, and I've got 4 found so far out of 1/10 of the database. So that means if I continue, I'm going to get about 40 names come out of this. You know, as it turns out, that might not be, you know, as much as you want. But the thing is, you don't want to have to roll through all of these, what was my example before? I was going to end up with perhaps 2,000 different horoscopes to look at. I don't want. Here I'm about halfway through. Looks like I'm going to get 36, 37 examples, and we'll see what we're going to get out of this. So we just have to wait this out and let it do its search. It shows you the progress bar, so basically you know where you're at. And in a moment, it's going to burp out the listing of those horoscopes that fulfill the criteria that I've dictated. So what did I ask for? Moon and Mars forming a Chandra-Mangala yoga, and both grahas in strength and both in kendras. Let's pick here some name I recognize. Andrea Barrett, who's an actress. Here's the Moon in Cancer in the Lagna. Here's Mars in Capricorn in the 7th. That's a Chandra-Mangala yoga, and it's a strong one because they're both in signs of their dignity. Lizzie Borden, famous axe murderer, killed her parents. Where's the Moon? Here's the Moon, Cancer in the 4th house. Mars is Capricorn in the 10th. That's also valid. Okay, so now it helps if you know names. Fanning Dakota, okay, so there's an actress. Again, Moon in Cancer, Mars in Capricorn. That fulfills. Let me look for other names. Michael Dukakis, former presidential candidate. Where's the Moon here? Here the Moon is in Taurus in the ascendant, and Mars is in Scorpio in the 7th. Let's see if we recognize any more names. You can scroll down here. This is not a long list, so we can do this quickly. And sometimes you don't see too many names you recognize. It helps if you been out in the world and you've read a lot and you know some history. Here, Gregor Strasser, a Nazi, one of Hitler's cohorts back in the day. So Moon in Cancer, Mars in Capricorn. Okay, not a whole lot, but you can fiddle with this, and you can, if you don't want them Kendra, well, you could have had a whole lot more. The point is, you can find what you want according to what you ask for and how much you're prepared to sift through. Now, let me show you a little bit more. So as you've noticed, each time I've clicked on these, let's say Fanning Dakota, it displays her chart. Okay, that's kind of handy. I go down here and, there's somebody else, back Lizzie Board, it displays the chart. Now, should I want, I can right click on this and say Save Chart, and then I can go and I can dump it in a file folder in my pictures segment of my hard drive, and I can save that to inspect it later. That's a cool thing. The other thing I can do is with this listing that's produced here, if you left click in this top left corner, ding, this whole thing now you can copy and then go to an Excel spreadsheet, and you can dump it there for whatever reason if you want to use this or save it or write comments to it or something later on down the road. So that is another cool feature of this, that you can save the results of your searches. And I've done this a lot in the past, use that particular feature. Okay, so there was an example where we used, that was basically a 4-line code, right? And if I just collapse this now because I'm not interested in this anymore, basically there were our 4 lines. I said I'll take the moon in one of these 2 signs, I'll take Mars in one of these 2 signs, and I chose them to be diametrically opposite to create a Chandra-Mangala yoga. And then I asked for them to be angular because if I had left it wide open, I would have got many, many, many more horoscopes than I cared to sift through. So, okay, so that's one search that we did there. Now let's say I want to do something completely different. I need to clean my search criteria. So here I just click this button and say clear all. Wipes it away. Fresh slate, I'm ready to do something all over again. So here's something that I did with the old Astro Databank program some 15 years ago, I guess, when I was writing my book, Parivartana Yoga. So everybody knows what a Parivartana Yoga is. It's a house lord exchange. That's when the lord of the first is in the 8th house, while the lord of the 8th is in the 1st house. Or, the lord of the 5th is in the 6th house, and the lord of the 6th is in the 5th house. Or the lord of the 7th is in the 12th, while the lord of the 12th is in the 7th. So this is relatively straightforward, and I'll show you how easy that is. So here we're not going to work with planets, we're going to work with lords. I click this button here to activate this field. And now I'll take my example. Well, first example comes to my head. I'm going to say, let's look for an exchange between lords of 1 and 7. So lord of the first must be in the 7th. So lord of the first, I've got that selected. I go over here to houses. Now it doesn't matter what sign. Parivartanas are not dependent on sign. They're more dependent upon the exchange of the house lord. Yeah, sign comes into it, but you know what I mean. The lord of the first must be in the 7th, while the lord of the 7th must be in the 1st. Here's the first part of the equation. Lord of the 1st must be in the 7th. Whoops, click. And that's one statement. That's it, that's all. Look and see that you got what you wanted. Lord of the 1st and the 7th. Then I go back to this pull down and I choose Lord of the 7th. Yeah. And I say, where do I want it? I want it in the 1st. Okay, that looks right. I want Lord of the 7th in the 1st. If I wanted it in more than one house, like earlier when I said I want a planet Kendra, I said the planet or the Lord must be in 1, 4, 7, or 10. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for something very specific. Lord of first got to be in the 7th. Lord of 7th got to be in the 1st. There's my setup, and I click on that, say generate, and yes, lo and behold, it does what I wanted it to. Lord of 1st in the 7th, Lord of 7th in the 1st. When you think about it, that's all you need to tell the program to do in order to find PVY17s. So we don't need to reset this, because once you do this in a session, you're going to stay there within the AAA criteria, and you're working with the SRS database. Nothing to do here now, but hit the button and say search. Da-ding. Okay, and now you can keep track. There's 23,000 AA data, and you can keep track around the 23 mark. I got 5, 2,300, I got 5. So I'm going to get about 50 horoscopes turn up that fulfill this specific criteria. Lord of the first and the seventh, Lord of seventh and the first. This is the way to find Parivartana yogas. When I was doing the research for my book, Parivartana Yoga, this is how I found all my examples. There are literally 66 different combinations. Lord of 1 in 2, while Lord of 2 is in 1, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 9, 1 in 10, 1 in 11, 1 in 12. Then start with the second house. Lord of second in the third, well, the third is in the second. 2 and 4, 2 and 5, 2 and 6. Do the math yourself, 66 combinations. So, it's laborious to think about it, but, I've done the heavy lifting for you. And so then we start, here we had burps out the listing with, a chart display, whatever came up first. Let's look for names we recognize. Look, this database includes anybody and everybody who was ever known of any notable distinction in North America, Europe, perhaps Africa, Asia, whatever, So it cuts a pretty wide swath. So you start Bernard Arnault. I recognize that name. This guy is, I think, the most wealthy man in the world. Owns, all kinds of French luxury brand corporations. So let's just have a look. Where is the exchange? So we've got Leo rising. So Saturn, Lord of the seventh, is in the first, while Sun, Lord of the first, is in the seventh. Bingo. You want to check these, make sure they really work. John Denver. Well, most people will recognize that name. Pop singer of yesteryear. Here we have Taurus rising. So we're going to be and Scorpio in the seventh. So we're looking for an exchange between Venus and Mars. So here's Mars in the first. Mars is Lord of the seventh, while over in the seventh is Venus, Lord of the first. Okay, that worked too. Doris Day, movie actress of yesteryear. Here we have Virgo rising, so it's going to be Mercury for Virgo and Jupiter for Pisces. And indeed, there's Mercury in the seventh in Pisces, while Jupiter is the seventh Lord, is in the first house in Virgo. Okay, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. Maurice Chevalier, famous chansonnier of yesteryear. Leo rising again, so Saturn in the first, and of course Sun in the seventh. There's the exchange of lords of 1 and 7. So, and it just goes on and on like that. And, if there's anyone here that, Indira Gandhi, very, very famous Parivartana superstar, because she's got an exchange between Moon and Mars. Moon owns the first, it's in the seventh. Saturn owns the seventh, it's in the first. That's one Parivartana. She has Mars in Leo, Sun in Scorpio. There's another Parivartana between houses 2 and 5. And last but not least, she has Venus in Sagittarius with Jupiter in Taurus, an exchange between houses 6 and 11. That's it. That's all, folks. There's nothing as extraordinary as this. 3 Parivartanas in a horoscope. That's the maximum you can find, and you will have to look through 10,000 horoscopes in order to find one. Incidentally, if anybody doesn't own my book, Parivartana Yoga, you might want to get it, because 40% of all horoscopes, and it doesn't matter whether it's a natal horoscope or an event horoscope or a muhurta or a prashna, 40% of all horoscopes have a Parivartana in that horoscope. And I did an exhaustive, write-up on the meanings of each one of those exchanges and case history for each and every one of them. So 66 case histories as well. Okay, so, and again, you can copy this chart. If I want to save Indira Gandhi into a file folder, bink, there I do it right there. Just apply a file name right there, and it will save. Here, I'll type it in right now. What do I want? Gandhi, Indira, and click save, and boom, she's in there. Trust me. Oh, here, if I had to do it again to prove Doris Day, click save chart. There, you see Indira Gandhi's already there. For whatever reason, it doesn't give you the correct path name when it comes up. You just have to manually write that in, but, big deal. Again, if you want to save this listing, left click here and copy, and then you can, copy and paste that into a spreadsheet. This one over here was a right click to save the chart, and then you give it the proper name, and you're good to go. Okay, I don't want to belabor anyone too much with this introduction today, but this is video 1 out of 3 videos. And I'm just going to move along and do some other examples in a separate video. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks. Come back for a video 2 if you're interested.